In today's session, Stanislav, Belov, and future Kortor will discuss Microsoft Defender for Cloud and what's new in the last 3 months. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to Stanislav and future. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Ashley. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. So before we start, the last time we conducted our What's New webinar, I believe it was in October. It was our first What's New webinar, and we received a huge amount of positive feedback. So obviously, you guys like that, and so another piece of feedback we got that some folks suggested us to do these kind of webinars more often. So here we go, and so we're probably going to be doing this webinar series on a quarterly basis. Okay, so okay, let's see. Let me share my screen. All right, so hopefully you can see that. So today we're going to talk about this. So what's new in the Microsoft Defender for Cloud world, and probably the first thing you've noticed that we changed the name of the product. There was announced at Ignite back in November, and so the idea was to kind of highlight and emphasize our multi-cloud focus. So it's now this product is not just to protecting your Azure workloads, but also protecting workloads in other clouds as well as on premises. And primarily nothing changed from the functionality perspective. It was more like a marketing move. So and to kind of highlight that this product is now part of the broader Microsoft Defender offering, including other products like Microsoft Defender for Identity, Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Cloud Apps, and so on and so forth. All right, so our agenda for today, so we're going to talk about what's new in the cloud security posture management component of Defender for Cloud, what's new in the cloud workload protection, and we're also going to talk about the new and updated integration with other products. And we will conclude this webinar answering any questions you might have. But before we get to the actual news, I want to spend just a minute, just refreshing our knowledge about what Defender for Cloud is. So in Defender for Cloud, as you probably know, that is a service, Microsoft service, which provides you tools you need to harden your resources, track your security posture, protect against cyber threats, and simplify the security management. Defender for Cloud serves 3 major needs, as you can see here on this slide. So it allows you to continuously assess your multi-cloud and hybrid environment. Also provide you recommendations how to harden and secure your resources. And also we help you detect some malicious activities by showing the security alerts and so on and so forth. So also Defender for Cloud features cover 2 major pillars of cloud security, which is cloud security posture management and cloud workload protection. So when I think about the cloud posture management, it's about visibility, right? So you want to understand which resources you have, what kind of misconfigurations you've probably made, and how to ensure that your environment is configured according to best practices. And also, Defender for Cloud offers security alerts, which are powered by our threat intelligence, and it includes, a range of different techniques, machine learning, and so on and so forth. We utilize to better protect your workloads. And also worth mentioning that Defender for Cloud can protect resources not just in Azure, but also in other cloud like Amazon or Google, as well as your on-premise resources with the help of Azure Arc. All right, now let's talk about what's new. And we're going to start with the cloud security posture management news. And to cover this portion, I will turn the mic over to Future. Future?
Thank you so much, Stan. Thank you for the introduction. So I'll start us off with what's new in the Cloud Security Posture Management, or CSPM, side of Microsoft Defender for Cloud. And there are some key areas that I'd like to go over here. This includes the latest release of Azure Security Benchmark, the 3rd version. With Azure Security Benchmark, this is the backbone of our recommendations. This is the backbone of the recommendations that you all receive in Microsoft Defender for Cloud. And with the latest update, we're adding more industry framework mapping and making it more ready for multi-cloud so that you can map how your resources are compliant with other multi-cloud standards. We've also updated the integration with AWS and improved this onboarding experience. We heard your feedback about onboarding AWS accounts, and we've added this environment settings tab that makes the onboarding process a whole lot smoother and no longer reliant on Security Hub and AWS. And we also have the same CSPM features that you see in Microsoft Defender for Cloud. You'll be seeing them for your AWS resources as well. In addition to that, we've extended Defender for servers and Defender for containers to your Amazon EKS and EC2 resources as well. Outside of our multi-cloud and ASB updates, we've also made some changes to the recommendations UI. And this includes mapping the recommendations to the MITRE ATT&CK framework, as well as some changes to how we structured the recommendations in the recommendations portal, and also how we're mapping the recommendations to show you which ones are related and dependent on each other. And now to show you how all of this looks, I'll go on over to the Defender for Cloud portal and demo these features for you all. So the first thing that I mentioned that was new was Azure Security Benchmark, the 3rd version here. So you'll notice in the regulatory compliance blade, we have ASB v3, and you're able to see the different security controls that are mapped to Azure Security Benchmark. As usual, once you expand on these controls, you'll see in a second here, you'll see the recommendations that are related to the different security controls. And this hyperlink will take you over to view the recommendation as well as the unhealthy resources. And right next to that, you'll notice we do have our industry standards. And as part of the latest release, as I mentioned, we've done more mapping to industry framework. And you'll notice here as well that we also have standards that map to GCP and AWS. And this is really important for our shift to being more multi-cloud focused, because now within the regulatory compliance blade, you're able to see all in a single pane of glass with Microsoft Defender for Cloud, how you're secure across not just Azure, but also AWS and GCP as well. And on the topic of multi-cloud, you'll also notice here, as I mentioned before, we've added this environment settings tab. And in the environment settings view, you're able to see your Azure subscriptions and AWS accounts as well. When you click on Add Environment, this is where you would be adding your AWS accounts to Microsoft Defender for Cloud. And this including a connector name, deciding whether you want to onboard a single account or a management account, as well as selecting a subscription and resource group to store that account, and the location and AWS account ID as well. And once you've onboarded that AWS account, you'll be able to see it in the environment settings blade. So right now I see my Azure subscriptions and then my AWS subscriptions. And when I click on that specific account, I'm able to see which plans apply to my AWS account. First off, the CSPM features that I mentioned come straight out of the box. So this is an agentless integration. Once you onboard those AWS resources, Defender for Cloud will be able to show you how those AWS resources map to the recommendations that we currently have. And then from there, you can also select if you want to enable Microsoft Defender for servers or Microsoft Defender for containers on those AWS accounts as well. So once you've onboarded and you want to go ahead and start improving your security posture across AWS, you would go to the recommendations view. And there are some key things that I want to highlight here in terms of being able to have a better multi-cloud overview of your cloud resources. The first being that you'll notice that we've added this environment filter. And this filter is really cool because now you can provide some granularity to your recommendations. If you want to just focus on your Azure recommendations, you can filter for Azure. You'll notice here that we have two filters for AWS, the first one being Classic and the second one being Preview. The Classic filter aligns with the previous setup that we had for adding AWS accounts to Defender for Cloud. And right now we're not doing away with this filter. If you're still on our legacy experience, you can stay there and you have time to migrate over to our new experience. But to focus on our new experience here, I'm going to select AWS Preview. And you'll notice here that some of these AWS recommendations do come with a quick fix. And right now we have a few that come with quick fix. In the future, we hope to extend this capability to other AWS recommendations. But when I click on the recommendation, I see the same thing as I would with any Azure recommendation, the severity, freshness interval, description, and remediation step. But one thing I want to highlight here with the quick fix is that when you click on the quick fix logic, you'll be given a remediation script. And from here, you can apply this remediation script to your AWS resource in order to make it more secure. And then from there, once you've applied that fix, you'll wait within this freshness interval. And once the recommendation is updated in this freshness interval, then it will no longer show up as the resource being unhealthy for this recommendation. And while we're in this recommendations view, I also want to highlight some of those new UI changes that I mentioned. So with the recommendations UI refresh, what we really want to do here is help customers focus on what matters most. And that's how the recommendations are mapped to Secure Score. Because when you can see how they're mapped to Secure Score, you can better focus on these recommendations to not only improve your Secure Score, but also improve your overall security posture. And this is where these two new tabs come in place. The first one being the Secure Score recommendations, and the second one being Off Score recommendations. With the Secure Score recommendations, you're able to see the security controls and the recommendations underneath them that map to the Secure Score here. And then with the All Recommendations view, you're able to see recommendations that are not only aligned to the Secure Score, but also recommendations that are not scored, including custom recommendations and recommendations that may be included in your regulatory standards as well. And you'll notice this because of the initiatives column here as well. So when I'm in the All Recommendations view, I can see the specific initiative that the recommendations align to as well. Now, when we go to a specific recommendation, which I've pulled up here, another thing that you'll notice is the tactics and techniques section that's been added to some of these recommendations. And this is a big part of us mapping to the MITRE attack framework. And when you're with this mapping for MITRE, we've had it in the security alerts, and a lot of customers found it super helpful, and they asked to see it on the recommendations, which is a huge reason why we've gone ahead and added it. But with this MITRE mapping, you're able to see where in the attack pipeline that you're most vulnerable, and what you need to do to be more proactively secure. So when you click on the initial access tab here, you're going to see two things, the tactics and technique. The tactics represent why. So the reason that the tactics represent why. So the reason for performing an action. This is looking at if the attacker wants to achieve credential access. So in this case, we see the initial access as a tactic as well, and credential access is also listed here as well. And with the techniques, we see them listed underneath the tactic. So this is showing how. So how can the attacker gain access into your environment? So in this case, when we're looking at credential access, the attacker can then take credentials by exploiting this vulnerability and then perform lateral movement in your cloud environment. So this is another way that we're helping our customers to prioritize how they want to remediate the recommendations as well. And when we go back to the overall recommendations view, you're also able to see these tactics here as a filter. So from here, you can filter if there's a specific tactic that you would like to focus on in your remediation process. You can select them here from the filter view. And that's all I'd like to cover for the cloud security posture management updates. So I'll hand the mic back over to you, Stan, to go over CWPP updates.
Thank you, Future. That was awesome. Where I can hear myself. All right. I can hear some echo. All right, that's better. All right, thank you, Future. So now, so next we're going to talk about what we have new in cloud workload protection space. So first of all, and so recently when you wanted to onboard your virtual machines running outside of Azure, not even virtual machine, but any service running outside of Azure, with virtual or physical running on premises in other clouds, you would need to install the Arc agent first, all right, to connect those machines to Azure. And after that, you would need to go ahead and install the local analytic agent to get some OS level visibility. So it was a little bit cumbersome, and our customers had been asking us to kind of simplify this onboarding process. That's what we did with this new auto provisioning option for the local analytic agent for the Arc enabled machines. So the next thing we're going to cover today is we added a couple of new workbooks. And so, as you probably know, the Azure Workbooks is a service that provides tools for data analysis and visualization. And we have a couple of, actually right now, I believe 5 or 6 built-in workbooks provided out of box in Defender for Cloud. And also there is the whole GitHub community, which helps all of us create additional workbooks that the whole community can take advantage of. So today we're going to highlight several of those. One is to help you understand whether you have any resources that are still vulnerable to this new Log4j vulnerability. So there is a new active alerts workbook that can also help you understand this and get some additional visibility around the active security alerts. And also something that the customers have been asking us for quite a while is to help you understand or estimate. So if you enable Defender for certain plans, what it's going to cost you. So we create a couple of workbooks to help you better understand your possible cost implications. So recently we also released a new Defender for Containers plan, which is now generally available. So, and this plan actually it measures or combines capabilities of two existing Defender plans, which is Defender for Kubernetes and Defender for container registries. And it's also, in addition to that, it provides a set of new features. And actually, we hosted a dedicated webinar, I believe last week. So if you missed this and you want to learn more about this new Defender plan and what we're doing for protecting your containerized workloads, please watch the recording. And if someone from Microsoft team can, paste the link into the chat, that would be great. So, and the last thing I'll show you what kind of improvement we recently made to Defender for Storage, which is also based on your valuable feedback. Now let's take a look what all these things look like. So first one is the auto provisioning of the local analytic agent for the Arc connected machine. So as all auto provisioning options, you can find this configuration in the subscription setting. So we have now a dedicated switch option to enable that. So you can enable, disable that. And when you enable this option, you would need to specify which local analytic workspace you want those machines to send their logs to. So pretty simple. And the result is going to be, all those machines which you're onboarded to Azure Arc will start sending the logs and information to this, the dedicated local analytic workspace that you can, later on consume. All right, so the next one is the workbooks. The workbooks. So, all right, the first workbook I wanted to show you is this new active alert. So of course we have the security alerts dashboard, which can show you all those active alerts and the resources affected. But so it doesn't really give you a lot of information. So right away. So even though we can drill down to any specific alert and get some additional information, but so with this workbook, so what we allow you to see is what your most attacked resources here. So first of all, you can see this in an aggregated view of all the current active alerts based on their severity, which is the most attacked or vulnerable resource group. And so if you use the tags, you can also see some alerts related to resources based on their tags. But worth mentioning that we never positioned Defender for Cloud as a SIEM solutions, and it doesn't have all these capabilities that Microsoft Sentinel or any third-party SIEM solution have. So if you're using Sentinel and if you use the integration between Defender for Cloud and Sentinel, you're all set, right? But there are some scenarios when you want, for instance, provide your resource owners or some individuals in your organization some visibility around the security alerts related to their workloads. So this workbook is a good option because it can right away show you the affected resources. You can see what kind of techniques the attackers we're using. So and see the alerts across the kill chain. So we see which alerts are related to initial access. For instance, someone is brute forcing your virtual machines and so on and so forth. And also you can see the overall list of all the active alerts here. So that's the one. So in the second workbook I wanted to show you is and again, so this is a hot topic since the mid-December. So everybody has been crazy about this Log4j vulnerability because it's a pretty nasty one. So and we created this workbook to help you understand whether you have any resources affected by this vulnerability. So behind the scenes, this workbook is using the findings or vulnerability assessment results are provided by either Qualys or TVM, depending on your configuration. So if you're using the Qualys for your vulnerability assessment, you will see this the affected vulnerable resources under the Qualys tab. Or if you're using Microsoft Defender for Endpoint TVM solution, so you will see those resources listed under TVM portion. And so this workbook also covers not just virtual machines, but also containers. If you have any vulnerable containers, you will also be able to see those container registries listed here. I don't have this any in my environment, so I only have a couple of machines that are currently vulnerable. So that's I think it's a pretty helpful workbook if you want to understand your current exposure to this vulnerability. So the next I wanted to show is the price estimation workbooks. So currently we have 4 or 5, I believe. So for Defender for storage, for Defender for servers, Key Vault, containers. So you can use this workbooks to kind of predict how much you will have to pay if you enable certain Defender for whatever, for storage. Let's use the Defender for storage, for instance, as an example. So as you can see in my environment, I have 43 storage accounts, and depending on how heavily those accounts are used, because Defender for storage is priced per transaction, you can see how many transactions. And again, so this based on the weekly usage. So we take 7 days of historical usage and show you your most actively used storage accounts, and show you so what it would have costed you if you've enabled Defender for storage, for instance, in this case. And as you can see here, in my environment, my mostly used account is this one. And so if I had Defender for storage enabled for this storage account, I would have to pay $30 a month to protect this account. And actually, since we're and like I said, we have similar calculator or price estimation for other Defender plans, not just for storage. So since we're talking about Defender for storage, so our customers, and as you probably know, the Defender for storage can be enabled or disabled at the subscription level. But we all understand that not all the storage accounts are created equal. So you might have storage accounts which contain sensitive information. You might have some storage accounts which have zero value to your business. But they're all going to be protected by Defender for storage because this is the subscription level configuration. And so you've been asking us to give you some granularity. For instance, I want to protect all my hundreds of 99 storage accounts out of 100, but disable this protection for one which is most heavily used, but it doesn't have any value. So, and recently we actually added this capability. So you can enable Defender for storage at the subscription level, but disable it at the specific storage account level. You can do that, and actually, I believe recently, a couple of days ago, we also updated the documentation. So please take a look, and I'm going to ask someone from the Microsoft team to paste a link to this article, so for your reference. But I'm going to quickly show you how you can do that. So you know how to enable, of course, Defender for storage, right? You just go to the Defender plans, and you enable it by toggling this switch to on, right? But if you want now to specifically exclude certain storage account from this protection, what you need to do is to go to the storage account configuration, and by using tags, so you would need to add a specific tag. So it says Azure Defender Plan Auto Enable and set it to off. So after you've done that, you would need to go back to the Defender Plans setting page right here when you enable those plans. And do if kind of funny thing. So you would need to turn the Defender for Storage off, click Save, and then turn it on again and click Save. So they kind of, you need to reset everything. So and this will disable the protection for that one specific storage account you don't want to protect. All right, that's for Defender for Storage. Now, that's conclude the cloud workload protection portion. Now let's talk about the what we've added or what we've changed when it comes to integration points between Defender for Cloud and other products, other Microsoft products. So probably one of the most interesting things is that Microsoft Defender for Cloud customers that are also using Azure Purview, and Azure Purview is an Azure service. I would say it's a data governance and data security service, which we actually announced like last year. It helps you understand your data estate, right? I like to think about Azure Purview as a Google for internet, but it just scans your data estate, scans your data sources, creates a kind of a huge catalog, huge index of all this data you have across your data sources, and those data sources can be data sources in Azure. It can be Amazon S3 buckets. It can be SQL on premises. So that's the list is just goes on and on. So this Azure Purview is just a huge scanner which scans all these environments, create a catalog which allows you to search and track the data. But also, in addition to that, especially what is more important for us, for security people, it can find the sensitive information. So whether you have any, let's say, storage accounts or SQL databases that contain things like credit card numbers, social security numbers, and so on and so forth, whatever is important for your organization. So, and with this integration between Azure Purview and Defender for Cloud, we bring the results of that scans to add additional layer of metadata to alerts and recommendations provided by Defender for Cloud. And just bear with me, I will show you that in a demo. So to kind of help you prioritize the remediation based on the sensitivity of the data involved. Okay. So the next thing is if you're using Microsoft Sentinel as your SIEM solution, we now have this in a bidirectional alert sync between Defender for Cloud and Sentinel, generally available. And what it gives us, it allows you to, so when you close an incident in Microsoft Sentinel, so this action also synchronized all the alerts generated by Defender for Cloud, which are part of that incident, So, and once you close the incident, all those alerts will be closed in Defender for Cloud. So you don't need to, deal with those alerts in two places. So now it's a configuration. I will show you how to do that. So, and it's now generally available. So we also have a couple of news when it comes to integration with Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Specifically, now that the TVM is available as a vulnerability assessment solution, and this integration also gives us some software inventory filters in Defender for Cloud, and Future will demonstrate that in a second. But let's start with talking about the integration with Purview. Just give me a second, and I'm gonna open the right tenant to show you how this works and what it looks like. Again, just to be able to see everything I'm gonna show you, you would need to have Azure Purview deployed in your environment. First of all, so right on the main dashboard, on the overview page, so you can find this new tile, which says information protection. But again, so if you don't have Azure Purview in your environment, you won't be able to see that. So, and it shows us some summary around what kind of data sources we have, which have been scanned by Azure Purview, and we have some visibility in terms of sensitive information. So if we go to the security alerts first, for instance, page, we also added two new filters. One is the data sensitivity classification, and the other one, data sensitivity labels. So data sensitivity classifications allows you to do things like, ask the Defender for Cloud, show you all the alerts that are related to data sources that contain some sensitive information. For instance, credit card numbers. Let's see if I have any resources. And right away, I can see that I have some SQL database, which has been under brute force attack. And if I click on this alert, on the alerts detail page, I can right away see this new section. It's called data classification, and it tells me that in this particular SQL database, I have some information, some sensitive information, specifically some credit card numbers, some personally identifiable information, and so on and so forth. So which allows me now, with using this filter, prioritize remediation, because not all the resources are created equal, and if you have hundreds and thousands of alerts, sometimes you need to kind of start somewhere, right? And using this new two filter, using this data sensitivity information, can help you prioritize your remediation. So also you can find this information in the inventory view. So if you go to inventory view, you can see these two filters here as well. So for instance, you can ask Defender for Cloud, show me all my resources currently protected by Defender for Cloud that contain, let's say, credit card numbers. And again, it will show me all the resources that have been scanned by Azure Purview that contain some credit card numbers. And it also, you see, in my environment, I'm using Microsoft Information Protection labels, and you see that I have some resources that contain labeled information. So, for instance, in my case, I'm using secret label. So that's as far as the Azure Purview integration. And like I said, really quickly before I turn it over to future, how can you make sure that you have enabled the bidirectional sync with Sentinel. So you basically need to go to Microsoft Sentinel dashboard, go to the connectors, find your Defender for Cloud connector. Under Cloud, go to the connector page, and over here, you want to make sure that it's this bidirectional sync is enabled. Of course, if you want to those alerts to be automatically synced, once closed, to be automatically synced back to Defender for Cloud. And with that, future. So I know we have just 15 minutes left. Can you please tell us what we have new in the vulnerability assessment space, as well as the integration with Defender for Endpoint? Future.
Thank you so much, Stan. So as you all saw, for our Better Together scenarios, I'm not sure if my screen is showing. As you all saw in the Better Together scenarios, we have added the TVM integration from Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. And one of the highlights of this is that we've added auto provisioning for this integration. One of the highlights is that we've added auto provisioning for this integration. So I've already gone ahead and navigated to the auto provisioning page, the tab on settings, and you'll notice here we have the extensions that you can auto provision on your machines. And the one that I like to highlight for today is vulnerability assessment for machines. So previously, the option that we had for vulnerability assessment for your servers was Qualys. And now with this MDE integration, we've added TVM as well. So what this really means is that once you onboard your servers, you have the option to make sure that they are secure upon creation. So essentially, you're simplifying the process by making sure that each time you create a new server, that server automatically has the vulnerability assessment solution. So previously you could only choose from Qualys, and now we've added the option to choose TVM as well. And again, I'd like to emphasize that TVM is a part of the Microsoft Defender for Endpoint integration. And in addition to this TVM assessment that we've added, you'll also notice a new filter within our asset inventory page. So as part of the TVM integration, we've added this filter for you to be able to see the installed applications that you have on your machines. So from here, you have the option to filter for different applications. And I've gone ahead already and filtered for Microsoft Windows Server. And once I've done that, I can see the servers that have Microsoft Windows Server 2019. And once I've selected that, you'll notice here that we've added this new tab, and this is where you can see the installed applications. So from here, you're able to see the vendor, the software name, the version of the installed application, as well as when this application was first seen and the number of known vulnerabilities. And once you click on the number of known vulnerabilities, you're taken to this page here that will show you the specific security finding. And then from here, you get some really important information. So you can see how to remediate the security finding, as well as the different CVEs that this is mapped to. And with this integration, you no longer have to go between portals here. With this blue hyperlink, you could also, you're able to see everything within a single pane of glass from the Microsoft Defender for Cloud portal. But if you'd like, you can also navigate through to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint by clicking on this blue hyperlink. And that's all all I'd like to highlight for the TVM integration. So I'll hand the mic back over to Stan, and we can close it out for Q&A as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Future. All right. So hopefully you found some interesting information today. So thank you as always for coming in and joining us. So, and now I believe we have just 5 or something minutes. And so we can open the floor for any questions. I know that our team has been doing a great job addressing those questions in the chat, but if we have anything worth discussing, Ashley, Ellen.
Yeah, we do have a couple unanswered questions here. We have, how can I see all Defender for Cloud disabled storage accounts in one list? Is there a query that you can share?
Disabled. Okay. You mean excluded from the protection? Good question. I don't have immediate answer because I would need to think about it. So we will follow up maybe offline and publish the answer.
Okay.
In our community.
Okay, next question. Is there a way to query out the storage created by Azure Databricks?
Query. Can you please repeat, Ashley?
Is there a way to query out the storage created by Azure Databricks?
So that's a very Azure Databricks specific question. So I think we would also need to follow up on these separate.
Okay, that's okay. Next question. What is the difference between TVM and Qualys? Is Microsoft moving away from Qualys and using their own assessment with TVM?
Good question. So both are, I would say, market leaders when it comes to vulnerability assessment. So until recently, like a Future just highlighted it 5 minutes ago, the only option we had for running vulnerability assessments was Qualys. So several years ago we partnered with Qualys to provide vulnerability assessment solutions for virtual machines, containers, and so on. So, but at the same time, we've been developing our own solution, which is part of the Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. It's called the Threat Vulnerability Management. And recently, we enabled the integration between these two products, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint and Defender for Cloud, so that we now can bring these vulnerability assessment results from Defender for Endpoint to Microsoft Defender for Cloud. So I would say, depending on your scenarios, depending on your needs, now you have an option to decide whether you want to use either of those solutions. For instance, because TVM requires MDE. So to be able to use TVM, your service needs to be onboarded to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, which can be a problem or a concern for some customers who've been using some third-party solution, CrowdStrike, whatever. And in this case, if you still want to do vulnerability assessment for your servers, you can use Qualys, right, instead of MDE, because if you onboard your already CrowdStrike protected service to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, there might be some unexpected consequences like race conditions and some conflicts and so on and so forth. So meaning that both solutions have some chance. So depending on your organization requirements in your scenarios, but they technically they provide the same visibility as far as the vulnerability is being discovered.
Okay, thank you. And the next question, Is there a way to export the severity of each security control?
Yes. So there is a download CSV report button, so which allow you to export all the recommendations to a text file and to Excel, let's say, and use filters there.
Okay, perfect.
If I understood this question correctly.
Yeah, I just also wanted to add that the severities come with the recommendations, not the security controls. So the security controls are made up of recommendations that have a severity attached to them.
Yeah, and the same is true for the alerts. So we do have several levels of severity, right? High, medium, critical, and you also can export the alerts to a CSV file and do additional manipulations in Excel.
Okay, and we have one more question here. Do we have additional cost in using TVM with Microsoft Defender for Cloud? We already have E5 license and MDE running.
Good question. So the E5 license does cover does include MDE license, right? So, but MDE integration is just one of the features provided by Defender for Cloud. So, and to use MDE and to use this TVM as a vulnerability assessment to protect your machines, you would need to enable Defender for Servers plan, which includes Defender for Endpoint. But there is a price difference because Defender for Server includes additional capabilities, not just MDE. So, and the price tag is slightly higher. So you would need to, if you want to use your existing E5 licenses, you would need to talk to your Microsoft account team and support to get some credit, so that you can kind of apply your existing Defender E5 licenses towards your Defender for Endpoint coverage. But it's more like this is not a technical limitation. It's just letting us know so that you will be billed properly, right? So so that you will not be double charged in the end of the month.
Okay, and we do have a few more questions coming in. Is TVM capable to run ad hoc scan reports?
Technically, yes, but it can be triggered from the operating system. So there is no way to trigger the scan from Defender for Cloud. So currently, TVM scans your environment for vulnerabilities every 4 hours, but the MDE team is currently working on decreasing these to minutes. So I don't have like a solid ETA. But that's kind of an advantage of TVM over Qualys. Qualys only runs their scans every 12 hours. We run our scans every 4 hours, and we're working on even in doing this more often, so that you get visibility as soon as new vulnerabilities are discovered and published.
Okay, and we have time for one last question. Is it possible to customize the severity for security alerts or recommendations based on the organization's tolerance for risk and mitigating controls?
Good feedback. Currently, no, but we will take this, feedback back to the engineering team and discuss this possibility. But I do understand. Yeah, definitely, every organization is different, but that's kind of currently a hard mapping we have.
Okay, thank you, Stanislav and Future, for being our guest today and for an excellent presentation. And thank you to the rest of the team who helped answer questions. At the same time, I would like to remind the listeners that the best way to ensure you don't miss any future webinars or major announcements is to visit our landing page at aka.ms/security-community. And while there, you'll find easy ways to navigate and find the resources and learning content relevant to our security products and their communities. A good start would be browsing our bite-sized product videos, ninja trainings, recordings of past webinars, GitHub communities, and more. We love to hear your feedback on how we can improve these webinars. Please take a minute submitting your feedback at aka.ms/security webinar feedback. Thank you and see you next time. Goodbye.